Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So my name is Ashley Dawn. I am a Reiki master, a medium, a light worker, and I basically love sharing messages to help guide and inspire you along your healing journey. Today, I would love to share with you a message that I got channeled from my guides that I call my team of light. And I'd like to talk about them for a little bit, and then I'd like to dive into the message that they wanted me to share. So if this is something that you already know you're interested in, please like and subscribe below. I absolutely love and appreciate your support. Let's get started. Okay, so first, the couple of things that my guides wanted me to talk about today is kind of like preparedness, and this is going to be more so mental and emotional and spiritual preparedness. They touch on a little bit about the current, the now time that we're in, and they even touch a little bit, they reference like politics and some of the things that are going to be coming up. And so this is kind of like a big overview video of kind of where we are as a collective in this current state, what my guides kind of want me to share with you guys, and yeah, basically that's it. So when I say my guides, I'd like to kind of explain that. I haven't done that in a while. So my guides, and I call them my team of light, and that's because they are angels, they are ascended light body beings, they are other versions and aspects of me through space and time, of myself through space and time, that have a higher vibration. I know that can be a little bit confusing for some of you maybe, but basically when we move outside of our physical reality, the one that we know as our human life, time doesn't exist. Consciousness, our light body, our soul, is really what exists, and that soul has a roadmap of all of the experiences we've ever had in this lifetime and many, many others. And so it is this incredibly wise soul. And so I have done an immense amount of work with my higher self, we'll call that, this year especially. But even so, this year I have met some really interesting and new and very out of this world, quite literally, guides. And so when I say my team of light, it really is my team. Now I work predominantly with guides and ascended masters and angels when I'm doing any mediumship or healing work. But when I'm doing channeled messages, although those guides are awesome and helpful and they're right there with me, they help kind of hold that space for me to raise my frequency and vibration so that I can go up through my more pineal gland and crown chakra, my third eye, to connect with them, right? Because this is kind of like how we communicate with our guides, like telepathically. And so they kind of hold that space as well. So they're always there. But you know, every light body being has a different unique energy, perspective, frequency, and has things to share. And so when I do channeling, I'm really reaching up into some of those higher frequencies. So I wanted to read a couple of things that I wrote down in my meditations, and then I'll stop for a minute and ask my guides to kind of use me as a little bit of a channel and see if there's anything more they'd like to add, because they kind of will give me now like a little bit of like a rough draft during meditation, and then they also wanted me to share and show you guys in a weird roundabout way how simple sometimes it can be to channel. So for those of you that are really getting into meditation and are really having unique and amazing experiences, I think they wanted me to share it more live in a sense with you, because they wanted you to see what you're capable of and some of the things that we can do with our minds, and some of the things that my guides are showing me that we are capable of, even in our human form. How to create reality, how to manifest things for ourselves is like, seriously, you guys, it's mind-blowing. But we have these limiting beliefs that we are just these simple little human beings, and so that really does hold us back. Some of the other things that they talked with me a little bit in this meditation was also how we're being held back is through our root and our base chakra. And those chakras, our root chakra, which I do have videos about that if that's something that you are interested in or unfamiliar with. But our root chakra is really about security, safety. And as human beings, we fall back especially when we're in a state of fear, we fall back on this very animalistic need protect ourselves and have the roof over our head and food on our table and these basic needs. But all of that really comes from fear. When we understand that we create our own realities, that we get to choose joy, and that we have free will choices to do all of these things, a lot of that fear dips away and fades away. And so one of the things that I talk about a lot is also triggers and patterns. And so moving forward, I ask you to pay attention now to some of those triggers. When you are triggered from that root chakra space where you feel like you're being threatened and you respond or react in a defensive manner, that is the root chakra. And our triggers are beautiful examples and red flags, as I call them, of where we need to look inward and do some more healing. And so I know that a lot of people, we've had a lot of chaos and stress happen in this past year. And so it's brought up a lot of those little triggers and those little things that we need to let go of. It's all boiling over and bringing up to the surface, but it's a beautiful thing. So embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. Look at it, honor it, do your shadow work, which I'm actually going to talk about here. Okay, so I sat down with my guides and I asked, if there was any messages that they wanted me to share with you guys, and this is what they said. Let's see. They said this is a time to be still, and basically what they kind of showed me was it's kind of like where all this chaos and stuff like that has happened, and we're kind of like, okay, just breathe for a minute. That's kind of the feeling I got, because I think we all know that the shifting and the changing and all this chaos isn't over, but this is like this little gap, this little space where we can kind of breathe and catch our breath and recharge a little bit. And so that's the feeling that they got. They're like, it's cool, just breathe, just chill out for a minute, right? So I said that's what the time is right now, and that we can tell that tensions and things like that are still there and still rising. But they're saying take this moment, right? Take this moment to recharge. They were talking to me, you and other light workers, so now they're talking to you, so all of us, right? All of us light workers, starseeds, gatekeepers, energy workers. That's what they mean by like those that hold or carry or heal or shift and things like that and use light, right? So they said all of the light workers will need to hold space for this new and powerful shift in time that we're in, this now time. So they said that this time right now is about making choices and trusting that the universe will bend and guide you no matter how things play out and no matter the outcome. So again, what they're saying is don't have fear and be holding your breath, waiting to see what happens next. Trust that whatever happens, that we don't know and can't foresee yet, is all a part of these valuable lessons and things that we need to do, because they bring up the triggers that we need to work on and let go of as a collective, okay? So they're basically saying trust the universe, trust us, right? And they said, as you pull farther away from the hardest or maybe even some of the more stressful or worse timelines, it doesn't mean that things got easier in a sense. They said we just as a collective steered away from some of those really, I like to think of like the more apocalyptic visions and feelings that a lot of us lightworkers have gotten, especially way back even in 2016. So those have dissipated a bit, but that doesn't mean that all of a sudden things got easy is what they're saying. They're saying now that every experience has a lesson and has value, and your choices can help guide you to the next chapter. And what they kind of made me feel like is every choice that you make can help to guide you in that right direction. You're going to get there. You could also choose other bad choices, and you could take the long way around. Either way, you're going to get there. And every choice that you're making still has those lessons. And if you choose something that maybe wasn't the best choice, you're still going to learn, which means you're still going to be back on that path and you're still going to get where you need to go. And so again, that boils back down to choices, patterns, and even just trust, right? Trusting them to say, okay, this is cool. Like I tripped a little bit right there, but I'm back on track, Okay, so they kind of shifted gears and they really wanted me to focus on preparedness. So I'm going to set my notes down because I definitely want to chat about this for a little bit. So there's a quote that they said, I'm gonna grab my notes in a second, but I wanted to explain preparedness. And guides are really, really funny. And so if you guys do your own little channeling and you sit and meditate with your guides, I love to see your comments below because they crack me up about how funny they are sometimes. So let me explain that. So literally they were like, we need you to be prepared. And they are like, we're not talking about toilet paper. And so I thought that was hilarious because I think when we talk about being prepared, it makes us think or feel like we need to be prepared for like a disaster or a storm. And that means monetary, physical, tangible things. And they're like, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the toilet paper, right? So I thought that was hilarious. But they were saying that they need us to be prepared mentally and emotionally. And that is why a lot of these triggers are coming up. A lot of these patterns are coming up. Why we're having to do so much shadow work. And they're saying that you need to do your meditation, connect with yourself, your higher self, your guides, because they're saying that you need to be in a space where you are mentally and emotionally calm and still. And you have this sense of knowing when you need to rest, when you need to exercise or eat healthy, when you need to be still, when you need to take action. And you can't do that fully or understand that fully unless you are really connected to yourself and your guides. You're just kind of wandering and feel very lost, right? And so they're saying, to be prepared is a mental and emotional state much more than it is to have the physical things that you need in front of you, right? Like toilet paper. So let me read this quote. They said, which I loved this: to change is the norm. To learn is the lesson. And to resist change only leads to suffering. And so that really hit home for me because I think we've had a lot of changes, and change is the only constant that we have. And they're saying basically, when we resist change, it pushes us, we dig in our heels, it pushes us and keeps us held down and weighed down. It pulls us away from our divinity because, our spirit guides are like, come on, let's go. And you're like, no. Again, that comes from a place of fear. And when we resist change, we create so much more suffering for ourselves. And so they're saying, when you learn, you adapt, you grow, you move smoothly through change, it actually is the direction you're always supposed to be going in, is change. And so I loved that. They were saying, to change is normal. So when you are changing, you're learning and you're growing. That is also normal. And that's how we learn our lessons, right? But only when you resist change is when you actually cause suffering for yourself, or maybe even others and those people around you as well. So I loved that little quote. And so they were talking about the mental and emotional preparedness that we need to be, and knowing, when you're connected with yourself, you will know when you need to shift or change or grow or learn, when to rest, all of those things. They talk about that being what it means to connect. When we don't resist change and we go along with this change, this is how you are connecting to your divinity, your higher self, your guides, right? And when one connects deeper with, your guides, you actually have less fear, you have less doubts, you do become less resistant to change. And I love this too. They said this, to be prepared is to know thyself, to know you're an incredible light body being in a human experience. And as you learn and grow, this helps the entire universe shift to a higher frequency. And so I love this part too, because they go on to tell me that it's best that you do this when you focus on yourself. And so it's kind of funny. They were saying the only thing that you can control is you and your reality. So if you start focusing on yourself, you do work on those lower chakras. You do let go of some of those old traumas and all those old shadows. As you work on yourself, your frequency raises. That ripples out, and it gives permission to other people to do the same, and it inspires them to start doing the same, right? And as that ripples out, as a collective in humanity, we all kind of rise, right? So they're saying, basically go home and work on yourself, and that's how you start to do this. This is how you connect to your guides and your higher selves. This is how you stop resisting change and move forward in a really positive way, right? Okay, let me see if there's anything else they wanted to add about this, because this is all about change, but also being prepared. So let me channel and see if they have any more they want me to add to that. Okay, so kind of what they're showing me is when you are comfortable in your human skin and body, when you are at peace and you are grounded, you know the universe has your back. So it doesn't matter what shifts and changes come. You know that you can easily navigate and move through them. And even if it's going to be hard or difficult or maybe even traumatic, you know that your angels and your guides have your back, and you will get through this, or you will be fine. And so they're saying, when you learn to trust, they're like, this is the biggest thing they wanted me to say today. When you learn to trust your guides, trust your higher self, you don't have to feel that pain and that suffering and that fear of change. Because then you are at such a place of peace that you're like, it's cool. Things change all the time. Let's just roll with it, right? And so they're saying that that trust that there is a better outcome than you could have ever imagined. Trust that things will work out however they need to and what's best. And if something is taken away from you, like a partner or a job or something like that, trust that that is exactly what you needed because it wasn't where you needed to be. You are exactly where you need to be now. And so they're talking about trust, okay? And so they're talking about how it's as easy as just simply asking yourself, which I talked about this the other day with a client in a session. So they said it's about as easy as stopping and asking yourself, does this bring me joy? Will this serve my highest good? Literally, ask yourself that 100 times a day is what they're telling me. Ask yourself that when you go to drink your water, when you go to eat your food, when you go to make choices or decisions, or you're like, well, I could take the long way home and it's the pretty scenic route, or I could take this way. Literally ask all the time, does this bring me joy? Does this serve my highest good? And they're like, if you just get used to doing that, you will start to hear us loud and clear, and then you'll build that trust, and you won't have to feel so trapped by the chaos of everything going on, right? Because they're saying change is good, change is awesome, change is here, it's happening. Better get on that train because it's moving is what they're saying, right? Okay, they're kind of shifting gears, but it'll all come together is what they're saying. Okay, so they're talking about, this is going to be take a little dark turn here for a second. They're talking about a lot of the things that are going on in our world with humanity, politics, culture, everything, that there's a lot of darkness, and they're telling me to explain to everyone that everything that's coming up and rising up, it seems like there's just chaos and fear and pain and suffering and deaths and like all these crazy negative things, but they're saying it's just like a purge or flushing or like a cleansing, like you really have to. It's almost like when you're sick and you've got it, you just got to throw it up and get it out because it's just not, it's going to hurt more. And so they're saying, this is what's happening. You're purging as a humanity, as a culture, as a collective, like everybody and everything is purging. And so they're saying, don't be caught up in that. Don't get caught in the fear of it all. Know that this is good for you. And, okay, so they're saying that only when you can see the darkness can you fully understand it and see it in its full form. And only then can you know what you need to do and what steps to take to avoid that or to prevent it. So what they're saying is you're going to start to see more ugly and you're going to start to see more of this sickness in a sense, so that you can understand it fully, so that you see how to not be a part of it or how to prevent it or how to avoid this. Because they're telling me it's not about good versus evil. It's not about good versus bad. They're like, that is a polarized way of thinking, right? Remember I've talked about before, like a complementary opposites or dualities, right? They're like, that's a duality way of thinking. They're like, you gotta move forward out of this right side, left side kind of thinking into neutrality, into center. And so they're saying that it is not about good versus bad or good versus evil or that kind of thing. They're like, it has been shifted to where the negativity, the lower vibrational stuff, the being afraid of the roof over your head and food on your table, right? That's all programming. We've been taught to believe that you have to suffer and barely get by and it's a struggle. And, we've been taught that, right? So they're saying that that is all low vibrational stuff. It is not about winning. It is not about good or evil. It's the fact that it's been out of balance and it needs to come back into balance. So it's not that everything bad is going to just disappear. That's not how it works, because sometimes we need suffering to learn and we need suffering to grow and we need negativity. We need to see, oh, wow, that's ugly. I don't want to be a part of that. Now I know what to avoid, right? So it's kind of like, it's not about one side winning or losing. It's about balance. And they're saying that it will help us with our free will choices when we really do get to choose and we get to see two equal things and we get to say, well, gee, do I want to go to the left? Do I want to go to the right? And you can see right now, it's kind of like we feel like we don't get to choose a lot and we have all these negative things, and it's kind of like damned if you do and damned if you don't. It's kind of like the more that you try to do something positive, you don't see as much of that positive outcome that you thought you were supposed to see and experience. And this has been a very past thing, so not currently, but past thing. And so what they're saying is currently, the universe and your guides are helping to bring up all this junk and toxicity so that you can purge it out, start back from a neutral space. So they wanted me to tell you that too, that this isn't about good versus evil or, that we're just, we're winning. That's a really immature, backwards way of thinking, in a sense. And I don't mean to offend anybody by saying immature, but what I mean is like a child playing a game. They're like, I want to win. And they don't realize that the joy is simply in playing the game. It doesn't matter who wins. The fact that you got to play with your friends and have this awesome experience. And of course, everybody wants to win, but it's the experience. You know what I mean? Like, you can't look at a baseball team and say, oh, well, good job. You made it to the World Series, but you lost. They're still going to be like, holy cow, I made it to the World Series. They're going to carry that with them forever, right? So that's kind of like, that's what I mean by like an immature thought. It's like, to see the battle between the good versus evil and the we're winning is not what our guides are like. That's not the point. Nobody's winning. We need to have balance. It's always about balance. Okay. So with that being said, okay, they're going to shift me towards a little bit of politics. And what they're saying is take that same exact thing I was just talking about and put it towards politics right now. They're saying it doesn't freaking matter who wins. It's not about winning. They're like, get that out of your heads. They're like, it's not about winning. It's not a matter of who wins. Because if, let's say, this side wins, then you're going to have an individual, a person, a man, that will do what they think is best, and they will shine light or point fingers. And they'll play this game where they're like, oh, look at this, all this nasty dirtiness and all this thing's going on. I'm going to fix it. Don't you worry. When there's behind the curtain, behind them, a crap ton of other corrupted things going on, right? So what my guides are saying is that it doesn't matter which person wins. What they're going to do, no matter what, is shine light on a few things that need to be fixed or changed, because they're going to shine light on the fact that it was not working or corrupt or, wrong or bad, right? But my guides are like, that will help a little bit, right? Both of them have different agendas and focuses, and a lot of the things that they are fixing need to be fixed kind of thing. But there's so much more going on. So they're like, stop thinking about this one person being a freaking hero. They're like, it's not about that. And you as a collective are way more powerful than one person or one government. They're like, stop thinking like that. You need to think as a collective. And what is coming up right now is the purge. It's the vomit, right? And so they're saying, look at that as what needs to actually shift and change, okay? So let me think, or let me channel. Hold on. So what they're saying is one person can only do so much. And for the most part, most people try their best to do whatever they're supposed to do, but they can only do so much. As a collective, however, they're like, you can move mountains. You could, like, almost literally, they're like, if you realized your full potential, they're like, you could literally change everything with like a snap of your fingers. And so they're like, don't put so much power in one place. They're like, you have that power. Don't think for 1 minute that one person, one government, one situation has any more power over you, especially as a collective. And so this is the funniest thing that they're showing me, because I've talked a lot about shadow work, right? And I just mentioned that even earlier in the video. You know, when things come up and they're ugly, look at them, honor them, let go of the things that kind of don't serve you anymore, take responsibility for the role that you played, but send it away with love and light. It's basic shadow work, right? But what they're telling me is, as a collective, as humanity, you're doing shadow work right now. All this stuff is coming up. And so this is really important for all my starseeds, lightworkers, anybody out there, you know what I'm talking about, you know, my gatekeepers, everybody that works with light, okay? So that's why I say light workers, because everybody's included, right? They're saying, this is why we've been saying repeatedly, hold space. Because if you hold space for healing, for the collective to heal, all this purging stuff is exactly what needs to happen. And so it's kind of funny, because they're saying, like, you've been working on yourselves, doing your shadow work, and they're like, we're so proud of you guys. But now that as you're working on yourself still, and now that you've worked on yourself so much, step back a minute and hold that same place, hold that safe place of growth and love and light for the collective to continue on its own. Because when I say collective, I want you to think of the energy of every single human on our planet, every plant, every animal, everything collectively. Think of that as a person, as a one being, because it's all connected, right? And so that's what they're saying. They're like, it's time for the collective to do its shadow work and to purge. And so that's kind of funny. And they're saying, hold the space. And that's what you're supposed to be doing right now, is hold that space and allow things to come up. Don't resist the change. Allow things to come up. See it for what it is. If you don't like it, right, allow the election to happen, see it for what it is. If you don't like it, know that you can hold the space, and as a collective, you can shift things however you want. But the vibration is raising no matter what, right? So they're saying, as you hold that space, it's allowing the vibration to shift and change, which is going to purge old, but bring new ideas, new healing, new focuses, right? And so they're talking a lot about that. Okay. They also, okay, how am I gonna, okay, so they also are telling me that they are keep using the word exposure, and they keep talking about the need for more of that, because it ties into only when you see the obstacle in its entirety, sometimes when you step back and get a different perspective, can you really see what you're dealing with, and then therefore you now know how to handle it and what to do. So they're saying to me that exposure is going to be a big deal coming up in the next several months into 2020, and that there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be coming up and coming out that are the vomiting stuff, are the ugly things. And so be prepared for that. Again, don't get tied in and pulled into the drama of that. Just see it for what it is and hold the space, right? The other thing that is really cool that they're saying is, as we roll into 2020, the ability for us to manifest, because we're all moving into this higher level of frequency, all as a collective, things are purging, right? They're like, you are going to be able to manifest like crazy. Like crazy. And I know I've said this before, but they're showing me that happening a lot. So it's kind of like, as you get all that junk out, like it's like a legit cleanse. And so now you are fully capable of manifesting like never before, or having these cool experiences. So I can't wait to hear what some of you guys are experiencing, because they're showing me like astro traveling, connecting with, you know, aliens and light body beings, out of this world stuff, all kinds of cool stuff. They're showing me that a lot of us, which I think a lot of us light workers have already been doing this for quite a few years, having these cool experiences. But there's a lot more people out there that are going to start having like literally amazing meditations, manifesting like crazy, and all kinds of different cool stuff like that, because we're getting rid of all the junk, we're purging, and we're really stepping into our full potential, which is so beautiful. Oh, okay. I think I want to leave on that note, because it is just, I want to end on that note. I mean, because that's beautiful, right? As we let go of all these things and purge, we are really stepping into our greatness and our full potential. And that's why my guides are so excited. They're like, yes, get it all up, get it all out, like do the purge, because it's going to really open your eyes, especially your third eye, up to, your full potential, right? Oh, it's so good. So beautiful. Okay, so I hope that you felt some of that intensity. I hope that this resonates with you. If you guys have questions or comments, please put them down below. I love to hear all that stuff. As always, love and light, my friends.